Let's assume you live for 72 years. On paper, that sounds like a massive amount of time. But if we look closer, that lifespan is made of exactly 3,700 weeks. Every single week you will ever have, from your first step to your last breath, fits inside this single jar. If you are 30 years old today, 1,500 of those weeks are already gone. They've been wiped away and they aren't coming back. Even though the jar is emptying, we still spend our remaining weeks waiting for the conditions to be perfect before we start the things that actually matter to us. We treat time like an infinite resource we can afford to waste. As the author Paulo Coelho pointed out, we often act as if there's a tomorrow for everything, until suddenly the time is gone. Every week we spend hesitating is a piece of this jar we are actively throwing away. It's easy to feel like laziness is a deep character flaw, but it's actually a survival mechanism. For thousands of years, our ancestors had to conserve every calorie just to stay alive, so our brains are still wired to choose the easiest, most comfortable path. But while your brain wants you to stay safe and idle, your human potential wants you to grow. When you spend a whole day on the couch, that biological drive to rest clashes with your need for progress. The guilt you feel isn't an accident. It's the friction between who you are and who you know you could be. The entrepreneur Jim Rohn realized that life forces a choice on us. Since we can't escape discomfort, we have to pick which kind we'd rather live with. We can choose the short-term, productive struggle of discipline, or we can choose the permanent, heavy weight of regret. Pushing through the biological urge to stay comfortable today is the only way to avoid the much greater pain of looking back at a life you never actually lived. Our first instinct is to point fingers. We blame our family, our lack of money, or even the weather for why we haven't started. This feels comfortable because it suggests we aren't the problem, but it also means we aren't the solution. To change anything, you have to accept that you are entirely responsible for where you are right now. You have to stop looking for an excuse and start looking for a way. When you stop looking outward and start looking in the mirror, you reclaim your power. If you are the reason you're stuck, then you are the only person who can get you moving. The heart truth is that nobody is coming to save you. Nobody else cares if you reach your goals. You have to be the one to do the work. Winston Churchill believed that taking total ownership of your situation was the only way to achieve anything of value. Accepting that your current state is your fault is the most useful tool you have. It means the outcome is finally in your hands. However, taking responsibility doesn't mean you should just be busy. You can work 12-hour days, answering every email and checking every notification, and still end the week exactly where you started. We often juggle 5 tasks at once to feel productive, but this constant switching just drains our energy. Most of the time, we're just using small, easy chores to avoid the one big, difficult task that actually matters. Think of a person sweating and straining to climb a ladder as fast as they can. They look like the definition of hard work. But if that ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, every step they take gets them to the wrong place faster. Real productivity isn't about how fast you're moving, it's about whether you're pointed in the right direction. It's better to do one important thing slowly than 10 useless things quickly. There is a hidden math to your effort. A small slice of what you do drives almost all your progress, while the rest is noise. Look at your tomorrow and pick exactly 3 things that matter. Ignore everything else. Once you have your tasks, you have to limit the time. Work is like water. It will expand to fill whatever container you give it. Give yourself all week, and it will take all week. If you cut your deadlines in half, you force your brain to stop overthinking and find the most direct path. You stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be finished. You can beat laziness by focusing on just 3 vital goals and giving yourself far less time than you think you need. We often tell ourselves that we're just being careful, but wanting everything to be perfect is usually just a shield. It's a way to avoid the discomfort of actually starting and potentially failing. Jeff Bezos has a simple rule for moving fast. Make your move when you have about 70% of the information you think you need. If you wait for 100% certainty, you've already lost your momentum. Moving this fast means you will occasionally mess up. You'll miss a day of work or break a new habit you were trying to build. When you stumble, just make sure you don't let it happen twice. You can skip one day, but you must show up the next. If you miss 2 days in a row, you aren't just missing a habit, you're starting a new, bad one. Momentum is far more valuable than perfection. It is always better to move forward with a few mistakes than to stand still waiting for a perfect moment that isn't coming. We tell ourselves there's plenty of time, but that's a lie we use to stay comfortable. Look back at your jar of weeks. You cannot get back the dots you've already spent, but you can decide exactly what to do with the one you are holding right now. Done is better than perfect. The jar is emptying every single day. How you spend this specific week is entirely up to you.